Okay guys, so the materials that you will need is some sugars and cream. I am just using some warm brown yarn, and then I've got this sage green. It is a 4-weight cotton yarn. You will need 2 different size crochet hooks. I'm using this 2.5 millimeter crochet hook and this E 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. And you will also need some stitch markers. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, once you have your magic ring, again, click the link here if you do not know how to do this. We are going to begin by making the cannabis leaf. I will also put another link right here for my original cannabis leaf. However, the stitch count on this is going to be different than my original cannabis leaf pattern. So to begin, we want to put 8 single crochets into our magic ring. So go ahead and make 8 single crochets into your ring and meet me back here. Alright guys, so once you have your 8 single crochets, you want to just make sure that you go ahead and pull that loop tight. Now we want to place a slip stitch into our first single crochet, just like that. Now we are going to begin with the first leaf, so we are going to make a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so now what we want to do is into this first stitch, not the one directly next to our hook here, but this next one right here. So we are good. If we count from the bottom, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th stitch, because we're going to skip this first one. We're going to make a slip stitch. Now into the next stitch, we are going to place 1 single crochet. Into the following stitch, we will place a half double crochet, so we will yarn over, go into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Now we will make a single crochet into the next stitch, and we will slip stitch into the very last chain right there. Okay? So now not into this stitch directly right here, but into the following stitch, we are going to make a slip stitch. So we'll place our hook and just pull directly through. Now that is going to be row 1, or leaf number 1. So now moving on to leaf number 2, we are going to chain up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now skipping this first stitch and into the next stitch, we are going to place a slip stitch. We're going to slip there. Now into the next stitch, we are going to slip stitch. So we will have 2 slip stitches. Oops, there we go. Into the next stitch, we are going to place a single crochet. Into the following stitch, we will place a half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we will place 1 double crochet. So we will go in, oops, yarn over, go into that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's how you make the double crochet. So then into the next stitch, we will place a half double crochet. Oops, there we go, half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we will place 1 single crochet. And into the last stitch, we will place a slip stitch. Now again, not into that space, but into the next, we will place a slip stitch. Oh, just like so. Okay, so there is leaf number 2. Now moving on to leaf number 3, we are going to chain 11. So go ahead and chain 11, meet me back here. All right, so moving on to the third leaf, we are going to skip the first stitch, and into the next stitch we are going to place a slip stitch. These first ones are always a little bit tricky. There we go. Into the following stitch we are going to place another slip stitch, and it helps if we do these a little bit looser, or else it can get a little bit tight there. Okay, so after our 2 slip stitches, we are going to place a single crochet into the next stitch. Into the following stitch, we will place 1/2 double crochet. And then over the next 3 stitches, so over the next 1, 2, 3, we're going to place 3 double crochets. So here's the first. Okay, into the next stitch. Here's our second double crochet. And the third. Here is our third double crochet. All right, now we are going to make 1/2 double crochet into the following stitch. A single crochet into the next stitch, and a slip stitch into the last stitch. Okay, so these are going to be the 3 on the side. Now we're going to make the middle leaf, so the 4th. So now what we want to do is slip stitch to finish off, not into this, but into the following. We want to go ahead and slip stitch right there. So now we want to chain up 13. So chain 13 and meet me back here. All right, so I have chained up 13, so we are going to skip the stitch that's like right next to our hook. So then we are going to slip stitch into that first chain. We are going to slip stitch into the second chain. We are going to single crochet into the following. We will 1/2 double crochet into the next chain. Now we will double crochet twice. So over the next 2 chains, we'll make 2 double crochets. So here is 1. And 2. There we go. Now we're going to triple crochet. So we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook twice and go into that next chain, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops, and yarn over, go through the last 2 loops. Now we want to do 2 double crochets into the next 2 chains, so we'll do 1 double crochet here and 1 here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Now we are going to 1/2 double crochet into the next space, single crochet into the following, slip stitch into the last. And then we will do the same by slip stitching here to finish off the row. So this is going to be the center point. So now what you want to do is you want to repeat these 3 leaves here. So basically you'll do this just working backwards. So then you'll chain up 11 and then work that row, and then you'll chain up 9 and work that row, and then chain up 6 and work that row. Go ahead and do that. If you need to double check this, you can rewind the video, go back and work these leaves. Meet me back here, we'll work the stem, and I will see you then. All right, guys, so this is what it should look like once you get the other side done. Now we need to make the stem. So we are just going to simply chain up 7 and then work slip stitches all the way back down, or excuse me, chain 8 and then work back down 7 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And again, skipping that first one, and then just work slip stitches all the way back and meet me back here. Okay, guys, and then to finish off, we are going to slip stitch right there. Now what we want to do is work around the edge and make that chain that we need. So we need to actually work our way over to the corner of this leaf here. So I'm simply going to slip stitch across all of these stitches just till I make my way to the other side. So go ahead and do that. Meet me back here when you get to the tip. Okay, guys, we've made it to the end. Now we need to make some chains and start making little loops around. So to begin here, we are going to chain up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oops, there we go. Okay, now we simply want to attach to the tip of the next leaf right here. Just poke our hook in there. And we are going to slip stitch, just like that. Now what we want to do is we want to chain up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We want to slip stitch into the next leaf. Just right into the tip. Okay, so we want to do these not super tight. Into the next bit for the chains, we want to chain up 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm sorry, we want to chain up 14. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay. Now we want to connect to the center with a slip stitch. Just like that. Okay. So now we want to chain another 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And we want to connect to the next leaf and slip stitch. Okay, and so then we want to repeat what we did on this side over here. So go ahead and do that. Meet me back at the bottom. All right, guys, so we are almost there. So going on to the last portion, we want to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we will slip stitch to the end of the stem. And then we will do 4 more for the opposite side. And then we will be done with this leaf. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we'll go ahead and slip stitch back into this first space that we did our work into. And then we will chain up 1, grab our scissors, and then you will want to cut off. So this is going to be the leaf portion for my crop top. The actual video to finish this off to make the top is going to be linked right here. So please click here to see how to continue to make my crop top. Again, this is just the leaf portion, so click this link here, check the description down below if you want to see how to make the remaining portion of this top. For today's video, I'm actually going to be making this in two parts. So this is going to be part 2. This is going to be how to make this portion of the body. If you need to learn how to make this portion of the leaf, please click here. You will be taken to that video, or you can check the description box down below. Thank you so much. Please make sure that you are subscribed, and let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so then once you cut your yarn, this is what it should look like. At this point, you can sew in your ends if you would like, and let's move on to the next portion of the crop top. Now what we want to do is switch our crochet hooks and our yarn. So go ahead and grab your brown yarn. Let me find the end of mine here. Oh my goodness. And looking at our leaf, here is the tallest leaf. This is right in the center. So to start working the sides, we want to start on the leaf directly next to that. So I'm going to go ahead and place my hook, again with the 5mm, just place it right in the top there. And attach our new yarn and chain up 2 and chain up 1 right here to tighten this up. Okay, so as you see, here's the highest one. We're going to start on the corner. Now I'm going to chain up 1 more just to tighten that up. Now the chains will never count as a stitch, so I'm going to yarn over and go directly back into that stitch and make a double crochet. Okay, so now what we want to do over each one of these chains and into the center piece and all the way down, we just want to place 1 double crochet into every single one of those. If you have a difficult time with this, you can just go directly into the space. However, I am going to work into the chains. So work a double crochet into each one of these chains until you get to the very end. Stop right before the stem and meet me back here. All right, guys, so now we want to switch over to our 3.5mm crochet hook and our brown yarn. So as we see here, this is going to be our middle leaf, and for now we are only going to be working on the bottom portion. So we want to go into the second largest leaf, and we want to attach our brown yarn just like so. Chain up 1 to tighten that, and chain up 1 more. All right, guys, so something I do want to say, in this whole pattern, the chains do not count as a stitch. So I'm going to go directly back into that same stitch and make a double crochet, and from now on we're going to be working with double crochets. So we want to place a double crochet into the next chain, because remember, we went ahead and worked all those chains, different numbers in between. So what we want to do, here you see the stem. We are going to work 1 double crochet into every single chain until you get to the stem. So stop right before the stem. And as you will see, we'll have our chain spaces and then the one that we did in between each of our leaves. So just do 1 all the way around and stop right before we get to the stem. Meet me back here and we will work the next portion. Okay, guys, so here I am at the stem, and what we want to do is we want this to be the center portion. So we are actually going to work 5 double crochets into the same space, but we want to put a stitch marker into the 3rd. So here's 1. We're going to make 2. Here's 3. So into this one, since we're making 5 double crochets into the same space. So we're going to do this into every single row for the center portion. So place your stitch marker and then place 2 more double crochets back into that space. So remember, this is all in the same spot as the stem if we're looking at it this way. So 1 and 2. Okay, so now just go along and continue to work like you did on the other side. Before I got to the center, I had 19 stitches along here. Your stitch count may be different if you did different amounts of chains in the middle, which you could do if you made a bigger leaf. But if you are following along with my stitch count, I do have 19. So then I will have 5 in the center. And then I'm going to go ahead and work the same amount of 19 stitches along this side here. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back here. Okay guys, so we are going to continue to work around, but I do want to grab 2 of my stitch markers, and I'm going to just place them on either side of these 2 leaves so that we know where our stitches are, so that we know that we have 19 stitches and then we have our 5 in between. So before we start working out to these sides, we are going to work up to the top. So we want to work up, so you want to work up 7 stitches. So we are going to make double crochets along the next 7 chains. So here is 1, here is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, now into the 8th stitch, go ahead and place 1 double crochet, just like that. Chain up 2, and then place 1 more double crochet back into that same space, just like so. Okay, so you see here's our center. So now this is where our straps are going to be at. So across the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, and then the center stitch. So across the next 6 stitches, you will want to place double crochets. Go ahead and do that and meet me back here. Okay guys, so now we want to do on this side exactly what we did over here. So we're going to work across 5 stitches. We'll make 5 double crochets, and then into the sixth space, we will work a double crochet, chain 2 double crochet, and then we will work 6 more double crochets. So we want to have exactly the same amount of stitch count from this side over here. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here at the stitch marker. Alrighty guys, this is what it should be looking like. So now we see our stitch markers. So we want to actually slip stitch into that space there. Okay. And now we want to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're not going to turn our work, and this chain 3 will never count as a stitch. So we're going to go directly back into that same space and make a double crochet. Now at this point we want to have a stitch marker. We can leave this one off, as we have our chain 3. At this point we want to have, it helps to have 2 different colors, but we want to have a stitch marker in the middle of the chain 5 that we have here. That's directly below the leaf. And then we want to have a stitch marker over on the 19th stitch. Remember how we counted off there should be 19, 19, and then the 5. So that's where we're at. So what we want to do now is we want to double crochet all the way across until we get to our stitch marker. Okay, go ahead and do that. Meet me back here. I'm only going to do this once with you guys, so go ahead and meet me back here at the stitch marker. We will do the increase one more time, and then we will work our way back up to this side here. Alrighty guys, so I am at the stitch marker. Now what we want to do is So we're at the center as we want to place 5 double crochets into that same space. So 1, here's 2, and into the third is where we want to make sure we put our stitch marker. Okay. Now we want to place 2 more double crochets back into that same space. All right, now remember you should have had 19 stitches up to this point before we did the 5 from the last row. So we're actually going to have more stitches here in the second row than 19 because we were working over the previous. So go ahead and work back up along this side until we get to our stitch marker, and then meet me back here. I'll show you how to turn the row, and then I will leave you guys to work the next few rows by yourself. Now I am back at my stitch marker. We can go ahead and take that out, and we are going to place a double crochet into there. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to chain up 3 and turn our work. So this is how we are going to repeat. Now, like I said, the chain 3s do not count as a space, so we are going to double crochet back into that same space, and then we will simply just crochet our way back to the center space. We will work 5 double crochets where the stitch marker is, and then work our way back over to this. When we get here, remember the chain 3 does not count as a space, so we're just going to end, let me get a little bit closer. We are not going to work into these loops. We will simply work our last double crochet right here, chain 3, turn, and you will do that for however many rows you want. Let me go ahead and work that. I'll let you know how many rows I did. All right, guys, so I did 8 rows. If you're following along with me, go ahead and do the same. Down here, I just marked the beginning and ending of the chain, or of the 5 single, or excuse me, of the 5 double crochets into the center. So here's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what we want to do, now that we are at our top, we want to work back down our work and stop right before the stitch marker where we began that 5 double crochets in the same space. So stop right here at this stitch and meet me back here. Okay, so here's my stitch marker and I stopped. Now what we want to do is turn our work. Now into the next 2 stitches we're going to place slip stitches. So we're not going to chain or anything in this row. We're going to slip stitch. Oops. Okay, so slip stitch into the first. If I cannot split my yarn. There we go. Slip stitch into the first. Slip stitch into the second, and slip stitch into the third. Now we will chain up 2 and begin our row. We're going to place a double crochet back into that same space. So at the end here, we are basically decreasing our rows, and then we will work back up to the corner here. So we are not going to be decreasing on this side, but we will start decreasing on the bottom, and this will keep it flat as we go. You will see what I mean. So now we simply want to place a double crochet into every single stitch till we get to the end. We will do our normal chain 3, turn our work, but you want to stop 2 stitches before the end. So go ahead and work all the way down, chain 3, work back, and stop 2 stitches before you get to the end, and meet me back here. Okay, you guys, so as you see here, I have 2 more stitches. We're back down at the end. We have 2 more stitches left in this row. Now we're simply going to turn our work, and then we are going to slip stitch into the first stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch into the third stitch, and then we will chain up 2 and work a double crochet back into that space, because the chain 2 space does not, chain up 2 does not count as a space. So now we are going to continue to work this back and forth. I'll let you know how many rows I end up doing. And then you'll double crochet, you'll chain up 2, you'll work your way back, and then you'll stop 2 stitches before the end, you'll turn, you'll slip stitch and go back. So you'll continue to do this. I will let you know how many rows I do. Alright guys, so I went ahead and did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decrease rows. Now here on the 7th one, I'm going to start decreasing on this opposite side. So we just want to go ahead and work all the way across, and then just like we have been doing here, we are going to stop 2 stitches before the last, chain up, and then we are going to turn. So I'll show you what that looks like. Now here I am 2 stitches until the last. Remember, we don't count the chain 3, so 1, 2. So we are going to turn our work. We're going to skip those stitches. This is going to be on the top part, so now we're going to start decreasing here as well. You want to turn our work, slip stitch into the first, slip stitch into the second, and then slip stitch into the third, chain up 2, double crochet all the way across, and then we'll stop 2 stitches before, and then we're going to do that and just back and forth until we have about 18 stitches left. I'll let you know exactly how many I do. As you see here, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of the decreases, and I end up having a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches by the end here. So now what I want to do is chain up 1, and I'm going to cut off, and we want to do the same exact thing to this side with the same stitch count. So go ahead, rewind this if you need to, and meet me back here, and we will move on to the next portion of this video, but just do the same exact thing on this side and meet me back here. All right, friends, so this is what it should look like when you have all of your rows completed. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decrease rows on this side. Now we are going to, I'm going to just show you briefly how we're going to do it, and then I'll zoom in. We are going to work back up along this side, up through the top with single crochets, up through here, back around, we'll work single crochets back down, we'll work some chain stitches along here, and then we'll work some rows of chains along here, and then 1 more row back down. So we're going to work 1 whole way around, and then we'll work back down. So let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, so now your work, we are going to start working up towards the top. So from where we ended on our second side with our decreases, we need to kind of fill through these decrease rows. So what we are going to do for this is we're going to loosely chain 2 and into just this chain 3 space, or just the space in between, it doesn't really matter. We are going to place a single crochet. Okay, and so that brings us down to this row. So we will chain up 2, move on to the next part right here, and single crochet, chain 2, go into the next. So we'll do this along all 5 of the rows for those decrease rows. All right. So now we are going to be working single crochets all the way up through here and up to the corner where we have this. So go ahead and just work a single crochet. So I like to go in between right here, and then I will go into the double crochet space, and then I'll put one right here, one in between, one right here. So just go ahead and do this, just working single crochets all the way up to the corner, and I'll meet you back at the video. Now here I am at the corner. What we will do is we will place 2 single crochets into that space, chain up 2, and 2 more single crochets back into that same space, just like that. And then we will work single crochets all the way across. We will do the same thing here and continue with the single crochets back along the other side, and then we'll do the chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and we will meet right back here. We are going to then work single crochets, and then we will work along the same thing here, but I will meet you back at the corner just to show you how we do this space right here, and then we will work along the bottom. All right guys, so here I am. I'm just going to chain up 2 and skip all of these spaces and single crochet into the corner right there, into the corner. Now we are going to work along the bottom, so we will chain up 2 and we are going to go into each of these posts with a single crochet. So as you see along the bottom, we have those all the way across, and then we come to the center, and then you'll just do the same. You'll chain 2, you'll put a single crochet, you'll chain 2, work your way all the way across, all the way up here, and then you will do your chain up 2 and end here, and then meet me back here, and then we're going to work a simple edging along the bottom, then work the straps, and we're all done. Okay guys, so you should have made it to the other side. Let's take a look here. We have done the little spaces. So what we want to do now is chain up 1, turn our work. This will be the last row here, and then you can work one more round of single crochet if you'd like. I am not going to. Okay, so here into the space, now we're going to start working back along the bottom. We are just going to place 2 single crochets into that chain 2 space, chain up 1, and now into each of these chain 2 spaces we are going to work like a granny square cluster. So we're going to work 3 double crochets into each of the chain 2 spaces. So there's 2 and here's 3. And then we're not going to do anything in between. We are simply just going to skip 1, 2, and 3. And then just do them kind of loosely. You don't, excuse me, you don't want it too tight. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And now just continue to do this all the way along the bottom of your work until you get to the other side. And then you simply want to put 2 single crochets into this space, and then put a slip stitch into the very end, and then tie off your work. If you would like to do one more round of single crochet, you can, and then but if you're following along with me, just cut off when you get to the side here, and then we will work the straps. Okay guys, so this is what it should be looking like once you have done your final row, you have tied off, you have sewn in your ends. Now all we have to do is make these straps. So in each one of these corners, you will attach your yarn and make a chain of however long you need to be able to tie this around your neck. For me, I'm going to do 150 chains on this side, 150 chains on that side, and then you need to add 2 chains to be able to do this in the back. So in the spaces where we had done the 2 single crochets into the space, that is where we will attach our yarn and make a chain there. Now, depending on how wide you are around, you can do 150 to 200 on each side. So I'm going to go do that. I'll meet you back here. Now, to make the back look like this corset, all you have to do is simply weave your ends from your right side to your left side and from your left side to your right side. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments down below and I would be more than happy to help you out further. And I will see you all next time.